The 2000s Justice League cartoons will always hold a special place in my heart. I videotaped the premiere of the first episode on my tiny boxy bedroom TV when I was 10 years old, and the series finale lit up my parents' living room plasma screen 5 years later, during the final weeks of my sophomore year of high school. These animated series spanned the majority of my adolescence, and it's basically impossible to separate the baked-in nostalgia even 20 years later, good God. After a whole universe of animated television that built up to hours and hours of corporate espionage and black ops, government conspiracy, James Bond, Illuminati, Ocean's 11 continuity, mindfuck buffet, it was nice to get back to more, well, comic booky stuff for JLU's final season.
Who's up for some laughs?
Compared to the Cadmus arc before it, this was a little more smashy action figures. The creative team behind these shows never expected they'd get another season, so when WB was like,
"Surprise, motherfucker,"
Bruce Timm and co. pulled out all the stops and just had fun, and admittedly, so did I. It was different, but a good kind of different. Since they had already expanded the league itself, Warner's 9 old men thought, why not in turn fill out the bad guy roster?
The Legion of Doom is now in session.
Yes, the iconic Legion of Doom came to the DC animated universe, an absolutely, mind the pun, cartoonishly large gathering of supervillains, both well-known and unknown.
Yeah, some of those villains in the background, I don't have any idea who they are.
But that is what we are here for today. Just who are all of these Legion of Doomers? How many are there in total? And to whom's rogues gallery do they each belong? Because get this, some of them only exist off-screen, and one of them took us almost a decade to ID. So buckle up. You know that Pokemon Stadium 2 minigame where you count all the Pokemon that pass by? It's gonna kinda be like that. Actually, it's gonna be exactly like that. There's a Pokerap at the end and everything.
Go.
For fast energy, grab a Lightspeed booster bar.
It's the Flash, and he wants to sell me something. Any normal person would trust the fastest man alive to not lead them astray. But what I didn't know is that as soon as I clicked on that ad, I became the victim of the Dark Lord malvertisement. You've heard of malware, full of viruses and all sorts of scary gunk, but with the partner of today's video, NordVPN, you can protect yourself against malvertisements as well. They're ads that look like normal ads, but they're actually taking your IP address and other sensitive data and sending it off to ne'er-do-wells that use that info to load malware onto your computer. My hard drives are full of archived footage from not only Watchtower database, but also my old sketch comedy, my upcoming feature film, my far gone days at marching band and drum corps, and hours of my kid jumping around my living room like a madman. A malware attack could be the worst thing to happen to my computer, but with NordVPN, ads are just blocked. Completely. Gone. So not only is malvertisement kept at bay while I'm researching a video, there's just no ads at all. Literally making my job easier and keeping me safe at the same time. If you want to have a similar experience while making your needlessly long Batman videos, then now is the perfect time. NordVPN is offering our viewers an exclusive deal just for watching this video. Go to nordvpn.com/watchtower or click the link in the description to sign up for a 2-year plan, and they'll throw in 4 bonus months just for being a fan of the Watchtower database. If for some strange reason you're not satisfied with NordVPN, no problem. You've got 30 days to realize just how much better your browsing experience is when you're not being hit with thousands of distracting ads. But if you're some sort of ultimate thrill seeker and like the idea of being unprotected while on the internet, then NordVPN will give you your money back, and you can go back to constantly running into like weird foot skin diseases and AI-generated nightmares that would make even Dr. Destiny shudder.
What's that stupid song?
NordVPN.com/watchtower for 4 bonus months when you sign up for a 2-year plan. Don't let your computer or eyes tell you they hate you anymore. Well, eyes don't talk unless you're a little alien rat man.
Now I'm really mad.
Again, that's nordvpn.com/watchtower for your exclusive deal just for being a database. Going to be kind of a classic WDB video from the days of old when thousands of people gathered to watch us list all of the things. In 2018, we scoured the present and near future DCAU and did a rundown of every Justice Leaguer. Then in 2020, we turned our sights to an age of unparalleled pee and prosperity and cataloged every Legionnaire des Superhero. Now it's 5 years later, and we're finally going to wrap up the trilogy with the last big group of guys, the Legion of... The LOD, we'll call them for acronym's sake, has been around since Challenge of the Super Friends in 1978, comprised of a small handful of DC's popular baddies, like Giganta, am I right? But despite the over-the-top campiness of a club of supervillains hanging out in a big Darth Vader head in a swamp, the Legion of Doom did make their way to the pages of DC Comics a couple decades later, in 1996's Extreme Justice, the series that also brought the Wonder Twins into the comic world.
What more do you need?
Since then, the LOD has appeared on shelves nearly 100 times and have been featured in the Harley Quinn animated series, the Arrowverse, the Lego movies, the DeCamu, and even headlined the 2012 animated film Justice League. So, despite the cheesy-ass name, the Legion of Doom has persevered and become one of the more well-recognized villain team-ups in pop culture. And hey, if you think that name is silly, try the Monster Society of Evil from the old Captain Marvel comics. Yeah, doesn't seem so bad now, does it? The final episodes of Justice League Unlimited gave the villains the spotlight, and deservedly so, as Gorilla Grodd stepped out of the shadows and revealed that he'd superinflated his old gang, the Secret Society.
When did we become the gang?
Well, okay, there was the Injustice Gang before that, but they weren't actually named on screen until the Secret Society episode.
Now I get it. You're trying to set up another Injustice gang, aren't you?
Dwayne mentioned that, we should do the Legion of Doom. And I said, we've done the Secret Society, we've done the Injustice Gang. And he said, no, straight up Legion of Doom with the big Darth Vader head in the swamp and the whole thing. And I was like, okay.
But likewise, this gathering at the Michael Keaton Wayne Manor dining room table was never actually named the Legion of Doom in the show. They were just the Secret Society, but big.
Think he's put together a new secret society?
The cost of running this secret society.
The secret society hates you.
Because of society, right?
Yes, George, because of society.
So why doesn't anyone ever call it what it obviously is? According to various accounts from JLU's producers, there was a planned moment in fan-favorite episode The Great Brain Robbery where the Flash, stuck in Lex Luthor's body, would have been trying to stall for time, hyperbolically and comedically referring to those in the room as this Legion of Doom. But a, quote, mid-level naysayer at DC thought the name was too corny, too on the nose, and was never to be uttered. Despite the crew's disappointment, they decided it wasn't a battle worth fighting and didn't hurt the show in the grand scheme, so it just never happened. But come on, a bunch of villains in a swamp lair led by this guy, and they're not the Legion of Doom?
I, Lex Luthor, find that preposterous.
Spoken or not, JLU action figures said Legion of Doom, the DVD and Blu-ray cases said Legion of Doom, the official synopsis for the first episode said Legion of Doom. Jesus, that episode was called I Am Legion. It's our Legion of Doom. Bruce Timm. He also says it's our secret society in that same article, so gosh darn it, it's either or.
Good lesson. Can I go now?
Go? We're just getting started.
Whatever the case, there certainly is a legion of them, and we're gonna count them all and figure out who's who. The LOD exists to stand opposite the Justice League, so there should be at least the same amount of villains as there are heroes, right?
It was 7-6. We had the advantage.
Guess it's up to me to find out. So how do we do it?
By watching lots of television.
First up is the original Secret Society from Justice League Season 2. We get the Shade a mere 10 seconds in, who was previously in the Injustice Gang a season before, but we didn't really learn anything about his history. In 1940s comics, Shade was Richard Swift, a thief who could manipulate shadows with his cane. In the 90s, he was reinvented to be an immortal from Victorian-era England who was mystically granted shadow manipulation superpowers. I'd say this Shade is more the former, especially since Grodd convinces him to join his team based on the notion of not having to outrun superheroes anymore.
Joints aching, lungs burning.
Something I doubt an immortal would have much of an issue with. While the Shade has become more associated with the Starman family over the years than any other hero, he started out as a Flash villain, so that's where I'm putting him. Next is the size-changing femme fatale Giganta.
This just gets better and better.
She too debuted in the 40s as a Wonder Woman villain, and while her Super Friends origin saw her steal size-altering chemicals from Apache Chief, the DCAU stuck with her original backstory. She's an ape, genetically transformed into a human woman. I honestly don't know which version makes more or less sense, but hey, it's comics. Then we get Sinestro and Parasite, both of whom we met back in Superman the Animated Series. The former being a snidely whiplash-looking, power-mad, corrupt Green Lantern, and the latter a purple people eater who was doused with spicy grape juice and can now absorb superpowers.
Sinestro's sworn a blood oath against all Green Lanterns. Parasite simply hates Superman.
Done. Easy.
Killer Frost She just likes to kill.
Our first question mark on the board goes to this lady, Killer Frost. We learn absolutely nothing about her. She could be Crystal Frost, the original from the late 70s, who got accidentally locked in a science lab's special science freezer, developing the ability to project ice blasts. She could be the second Killer Frost, Louise Lincoln, who, repeated what Crystal did and got the same superpowers, alright. She certainly looks more like Louise, but then again, more recent versions of Crystal seem to pattern their looks after DCAU Killer Frost, so I don't know. I guess it doesn't matter. And to the two people thinking it, no, she's not Mr. Freeze's sister-in-law. We already debunked that like 300 videos ago. Whoever she is, Killer Frost is typically an enemy of DC hero Firestorm, but since we never saw Firestorm in JLU, that's also up in the air. I think I'll create a Justice League villain category and call that good. Our penultimate OG member and the first leader of the secret society was Grodd, a dictatorial mastermind from Gorilla City.
A hidden city of super intelligent talking gorillas with technology far beyond anything humans have created.
No, really.
Back in Justice League's first season, Flash catastrophically rewired Grodd's mind control helmet, but also accidentally caused him to now be able to do that shit biologically. Grodd's comic origin saw a radioactive meteor grant him psychic powers, and he used them to steal the wife of Gorilla City's king and also steal being king. While Grodd has been more of a Justice League villain in the DCAU, Flash did fuck him up the first time, so I'm gonna count it.
Ladies and gentlemen, I give you the final member of our secret society, Clayface.
Well, the final member of V1, anyway. Clayface had a whole two-part episode of Batman the Animated Series dedicated to his goopy, gross transformation from facial-scarred actor Matt Hagen to shape-shifting humanoid refried beans. Clayface didn't come back for Secret Society the Squeakquel, either because he's dead by fireworks and or because they stopped being able to use Batman characters. Yeah, that was a thing. Way later, at the top of JLU Season 3, the Secret Society returned, now the Legion of Doom we'd all been waiting for. Or not expecting it all, but they were there anyway. The first new member we saw was actually the host of these arms that magically pulled Lex Luthor through a brick wall, the Key. Key's comic history goes all the way back to the 50s, where he was a thief who left a skeleton key as a calling card. But the 60s gave him the orange jumpsuit and padlock head, where he used psychochemicals to enhance his intelligence and toted his ability to unlock any lock.
Something of a specialty of mine.
In JLU, Key was actually originally intended to be a construct of Brainiac, as the season would lead up to the evil computer's dramatic return. But since this Brainiac plotline was dropped quickly, we may never unlock his true past. He's also a Justice League villain, but he was defeated in the comics the first two times by a Hawk someone, so I'll give him to Hawk Girl, at least for now. She's gotta have somebody, right? Next, we have eventual leader number 2 of the LOD, Brickwall kidnappee Lex Luthor. He's been around since the start of Superman the Animated Series, a mainstay of this universe. I don't think I need to explain who he is.
Come on, it's Lex flippin' Luthor.
The dude is anti-Superman through and through. And I guess we count Brainiac too? We did a whole video about whether or not this is really Brainiac, or Lex gone crazy, or various other possibilities, so it's questionable. I'll just give him a 0.5 for now. It is this overly cinematic Darth Vader helmet garage door opening which bestows upon us a bounty of bad guys.
I'll admit we're putting on something of a show for your benefit.
Several of these any good Cape Shit fan knows by heart. There's Cheetah, likely the Barbara Ann Minerva version, whose lack of research funding caused her to experiment on, well...
Sometimes you gotta do things yourself.
I'm a man, Cheetah. You want to do something with this?
There's Bizarro, the failed Superman clone, Toyman, the toy-obsessed serial killer, Metallo, a terrorist implanted into a robot body, Star Sapphire, an alien gem-wielding Green Lantern foe, and Copperhead, a snake-spliced contortionist and assassin.
I don't do that tongue thing.
But there's also plenty here that I wouldn't blame anybody for not knowing.
When it came time to decide who the villains were in the Legion of Doom, Bruce and the guys totally left it up to me. So I just started going through my comic books, picking out who I liked, who I thought would never ever be in animation ever again.
You succeeded.
And I picked the most obscure villains I could, actually, so.
Like deliberately?
Yeah. Obscure to non-geeks, that's what I meant.
True.
John D, aka Dr. Destiny, returns from Justice League Season 2, where he plugged his brain into an oddly dragon-shaped ESP booster machine and gave himself the ability to hop into people's nightmares.
And now that I'm a doctor,
I think I'll perform some surgery.
That is the creepiest fucking thing I've ever seen. Dr. Destiny is sometimes associated with the Sandman / Dream / Morpheus / whatever else he might be named, but he started out as an enemy of Green Lantern in the 60s JLA comics, so ha ha ha. Oddly, at the end of his first appearance, Dr. Destiny stabbed himself with a super sedative and was reduced to a drooling shell. Plus, he was only ever actually a spooky skeleton man within the dreams. So how did he come back, and how does he look like this in real life? And can he now project the nightmares tangibly? Is he powerless and peeled his actual face off?
The world may never know.
Next over is
You, evil head guy.
Yeah?
It's Evil Star, actually. And not to be confused with this Evil Star, she's literally chilling in the Fortress of Solitude at the moment. This guy does absolutely nothing in the show. He's basically useless.
I don't have a part in this plan.
So all we have to go off of is his 60s Green Lantern comics origin, yes, one more for GL, where he was an alien scientist who sought to cheat death and siphoned power from the stars to create the Star Band, a device that gave him immortality but also warped his mind and made him kill everyone else on the planet. Or he's the 40s JSA villain who wore a big yellow star on his face and owned a movie rental company. But that ain't useless. Keep physical media alive.
Exactly.
Atomic Skull! Yeah! He appears to be Atomic Skull 2 from 1991, college student Joseph Martin, who stumbled on a Star Lab stasis tube containing the Parasite right as a futuristic bomb went off. Its energy arced through Parasite and into Martin, causing him to become Ghost Rider. Atomic Skull. He used his newfound energy powers to battle Superman, much like the first Atomic Skull before him. Now, due to Aquaman characters' rights also being tied up at the time, we'll talk about all that in future videos, classic DC villain Black Manta was reimagined as Devil Ray. He's virtually the same character as BM. Okay, maybe I won't acronym that one, who was a young boy kidnapped and put to work out at sea, his cries for help going unnoticed by Aquaman. Escaping and vowing revenge, he created a laser-shooting scuba suit and a submarine to go with it, becoming Black Manta or Devil Ray or whatever the lawyers say is fine. Never got to see him fight Aquaman, but he did harass Wonder Woman pretty often in JLU, so screw you, Aquaman. Just this time. I like Aquaman. Funny enough, as of 2021, Devil Ray actually is his own separate character in DC Comics now, a former minion of Black Manta. So maybe the real Black Manta is out there somewhere in the DCAU. ... Dr. Cyber was Sylvia Cyber, a 60s Wonder Woman villain with a burned face who ran a global criminal network. All she ever did in this show was fight Supergirl for a sec, and that was actually a Zeta-looking training robot, so she actually did nothing.
Is it Shark Man?
Yep.
Why
That's not really his name. Is it Shark Man?
The Shark.
The Shark.
The Shark? Oh, okay.
That's completely different.
Yeah, that's not dumb at all.
Not to be confused with King Shark either, who is the child of a human woman and a shark god, or Shark of the Terrible Trio from BTAS, a rich asshole who wore a shark mask, or Harvey Bullock antagonist Vinny the Shark, who is not a shark in any way. The Shark was a shark who got radioactive waste spilled on him and turned into a big, tall, humanoid shark man. Weirdly, he's not an Aquaman villain, but a Green Lantern one, really racking up the points here, able to mentally manipulate matter and shoot energy bolts. We never see him do that, though. He just sits there. Blockbuster was Mark Desmond, a scrawny weakling nerd who injected himself with a serum to grow big and strong, which accidentally also made him real stupid.
Pound their heads! Pound your own!
Blockbuster was first stopped by Batman and Robin, so there you go. You'd think he would be the one who owned a movie rental company, but I suppose we can just wait around for Blockblister to show up.
He's better!
Much better!
Silver Banshee is another classic Superman villain who never made it into Clark's own show. Siobhan McDougal was centuries-old royalty next in line for the throne of her Irish clan, whose mystic ritual was interrupted and botched by her jealous brother, sending her to the Netherverse for hundreds of years, where she was bestowed the powers of the Banshee, aka sucking the life out of folks. And the color palette, I guess, like Heatwave's orange goes away when she does. I don't know if you've ever noticed that. I notice it every time. Dr. Polaris was...
What's my real name?
Neil Emerson. What do I win? Polaris's prefix ain't no joke. He's a doctor who exposed himself to super-duper magnets to test his medical hypotheses that they'd cure illness. Instead, they gave him a split personality and Magneto powers, and he fought Green Lantern with them. Then there's Queen Bee, Zazala of the planet Carl, who leads an army of alien bee men to conquer the universe. She's a classic 60s Justice League villain, and she also only did anything as a training robot fighting Supergirl. The Puzzler here got punched in the face by Batman in Gorilla Gorilla City, and that's about it. He was originally just a normal dude who threw playing cards at Superman one time. Then he was a slightly eviler looking normal dude who used crafty cheating skills to win any game, except one where Superman beat him at checkers using super speed. That is cheating, Superman. But then, in 2002,
Our new puzzler is a woman.
Valerie Van Hoften established this puzzle piece look, able to break herself into pieces for whatever thing that might be helpful with. This here isn't actually Bane and Deadshot tossed in a blender, it's Anatoly Knyazov, the KG Beast, a Russian super assassin trained in every weapon on the planet, including the machine gun that is his hand. He's also this guy in Batman v Superman who gets cooked by Batman. He's a Batman villain. Gentleman Ghost is Jim Craddock, an 1800s highway robber who was hanged to death for his crimes. But uh-oh, the guy who did the hanging was Old West hero Nighthawk, one of many endless reincarnations of Hawkman, and Craddock was mystically linked to him, doomed to live as a ghost forever. I guess we therefore count him as a Hawkman villain, especially since the one time we see him do anything interesting, he's caught by Hawkman. Do we then change the key to Hawkman? I guess. Sorry, Shayera.
Why you boring me? I'm right.
Big guy here is Black Mass, Jeffrey Thibodeau, one of the many members of the Cadre, a bad guy gang who we once saw fighting Superman and Batman, which I guess makes them just Justice League villains again. Black Mass has wristbands that make him big, and he has super strength. We'll hit some of his fellow Cadre-ers momentarily. But last in this big reveal shot is Rampage, Kitty Faulkner, a Star Labs scientist who experimented with rapidly growing algae, hoping to discover an alternative energy source. But when an asshole colleague turned on Kitty's machine to show it wasn't safe, he was right and it exploded, bombarding her with energy and turning her into a big mohawked Futurama Amazonian. Good going, dude. A few stragglers we see in this episode are, again, a mix of known and unknown. There's Volcana from Estas, a fire-controlling metahuman captured and experimented on by the government, and the Weather Wizard, who caused the DCAU's first Superman-Flash crossover. But there's also Clifford DeVoe, the Thinker, a Flash villain whose thinking cap enhances his intelligence and can shoot psychic energy. There's Sonar engineer Beto Wladin. It's like a grace note. Another Green Lantern villain from the fictional Balkan country of Medora, who uses sound-based weaponry. Heatwave, whose name I may never determine is one word or two, is one of the Flash's popular rogues, alias Mick Rory, a pyromaniac with a fire gun. Major Disaster, aka Paul Booker, uses gadgets to cause natural disasters. He originally fought Green Lantern and Flash, but it was inside a Green Lantern comic, so I'm gonna give him the edge here, I guess.
That's not fair.
Now, who is that guy? That guy in the black and yellow.
That's not Angleman, is it? See, James.
Is that Angleman?
Okay.
That's Angleman.
Yeah, see, James is the only one who knows who all these characters are.
Fortunately, James is also my name. Angleman finally gives us another Wonder Woman villain, Angelo Bend. Look, sometimes we get some clever names, sometimes we get Angelo Bend. Much like Two-Face is obsessed with committing crimes that have to do with the number 2, Angleman does angle crimes and uses a big yellow protractor, the Angler, to warp time and space. And Merlin, not the Camelot magician, not the Russian death metal band, but in fact, a longtime foe of Green Arrow. Get on the board, you old dog. Merlin is the Ironmonger to Oliver Queen's Iron Man, the Dark Archer, and a former member of the League of Assassins. I'm actually showing a shot from a later episode because all we see of him in I Am Legion is this. So, yeah. Next LOD Focus episode only gives us a blink and you'll actually miss it because I've never even noticed this before shot, full of silhouettes that Jean Jones pulls from the mind of Giganta before it shorts out. Clumped together are what look like Sinestro, Heatwave, Grodd, Star Sapphire, Livewire, the electricity-powered literal shock jock who we met in Estas, and 2 other guys? There's so little to go off of, so let's see if we can't make educated guesses as we fill out the rest of the LOD ranks, which we're gonna do way faster now because yikes, there's a lot. Tala, a witch who studied under, quite literally, Felix Faust. She used to be a part of Project Cadmus and comes from hell. Goldface, who's probably this silhouette, a student who was exposed to old pirate booty that's covered in toxic waste and very comic bookily gained the King Midasy power to turn anything he touches to gold.
Those drugs really hit the spot.
Tattooed Man, who forms his tattoos into tangible invisible 3D constructs, like a Green Lantern ring, but tattoos. And also this guy, whoever he is. This is the only shot of him ever. Wait, is that? No way! It's the winner of our latest giveaway. Also, this dead guy on the ground is totally the winner of the Mask of the Phantasm display poster. Wow! Check your original comments for more info. Here's our next giveaway. All you got to do to enter is comment below answering our question of the day from the end of this video. Okay, anyway, when Lex Luthor shoots Grodd and takes control of the Legion, we get a look at almost all the rest of the group. This is Lady Lunar, who was exposed to space radiation and now has moon powers. That's the Monocle, a corrupt businessman who uses lens-based weapons like his laser-shooting monocle.
My brand.
The dummy, not to be confused with either of these dummies, is either an actual little person dressed as a puppet or a puppet brought to life. Apparently, it's never been explained. He was the arch nemesis of Vigilante. Shoot! Remember the Cadre with Black Mass? Well, there's two more, Fastball and Crowbar. Their names are kind of self-explanatory. Ball's fast, bar, crow. Javelin? He's got a javelin. He's got multiple javelins. This is Sakuri. She's got my back. She can cut all you in half with one sword stroke just like mowing the lawn. Bloodsport is a Vietnam draft-dodging weapons expert who tried to kill Superman but didn't. My god, Psycho Pirate is huge, or Fastball is tiny, but either way, PP here uses his so-called Medusa mask to influence the emotional spectrum. He can make you mad, he can make you glad, he can see the entire multiverse, but nobody believes him. Why is his name hyphenated? He barely looks like a pirate. I digress. Dr. Spectro wraps up this episode, a Captain Atom villain who uses his light-emitting polka dots to influence people's emotions. So he's the same guy as Psycho Pirate? Well, not here, I guess, but sometimes. In the Great Brain Robbery, we get a cameo from another Flash rogue, Mirror Master, the master of mirrors, and Neutron, a criminal infused with radiation powers. And then, oh my god, look at this shot for fuck's sake.
Who's that Pokemon? It's Pikachu!
Well, there's the Top, who uses telekinesis to spin his body at super speeds like a top. Sportsmaster uses all sorts of sports equipment and kind of makes the baseball bad guy obsolete, but whatever. Is that Neutron again? Nah, it's the Puppeteer, a scientist who uses a hypnosis ray to control his victims like puppets.
I'm called a puppeteer because I work with puppets.
And then we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 random, probably miscolored bullshit background dudes spread around the table.
I have no idea who this is.
Next season, it's gonna be a lot easier to figure out who the bad guys are. Oh, really? Is it, Bruce Timm? How am I supposed to ever figure out who in the world Oh, okay. A couple shots later, we see who most of these are, and I was right, they were just colored wrong. Thanks, Dongwoo Animation. But these four are still unaccounted for, and there's also 3 silhouettes that never get revealed. Cool, neat, I love my job. Electrocutioner barely made his way into this episode. He's got an electrically charged supersuit. His name's a portmanteau. And is this Orion from the Justice League? What the hell? I don't know anybody else whose torso and belt and stuff matches this guy, and he's colored exactly like Orion. Did Orion switch sides?
Take a character such as Orion that showed up in Superman and then really play him out and give him a greater role in Justice League.
Talk while you still have a jaw.
Oh yeah. Definitely a villain. There's only 3 more, and 2 of them might not even count. The episode Grudge Match, where all the Supergirls fight each other, starts off with these 2 dudes participating in the world's most boring cage match. Shatterfist rounds out our cadre members, a martial arts expert who can disintegrate shit with his hands. Or shatter shit with his fist. His name is Shatterfist, and this is a Catman from the fucking Fairly Odd Parents. Nope, it's Hellhound, actually. He's a dog man. He's a Catwoman villain. Catwoman gets to be on the board. Whoop whoop. What are even the rules here, baby? These 2 might not actually be LODers. Roulette talks to Luthor about him taking large cuts from Metabrawl, so you'd assume that means anybody at Metabrawl is in the Legion, but then she says he's only been poaching the best fighters, and these dudes fucking suck, so they might be in the Legion of Doom. They don't have to be, but all the rest of the cadre's in there, so why wouldn't Shatterfist be? I don't know, man. This is a lot. The season and series caps off with a big old fight between as many of the Legion of Doom members as happened to be hanging out in the Darth Vader head when it blasted off into space. Everybody here has been here except goddamn Hellgramite. Just Hellgramite all of a sudden. Okay, he's a big mutant grasshopper. I still don't know who the this is. He's got a big ass forehead and is like, it might be monocle, I guess. Is this a mustache? I really have no idea. Hooray! That's everybody. Just kidding. According to his JLU action figure, Bane is in the Legion of Doom. I don't know why specifically Bane, like Scarecrow was in the original Super Friends one and he got an action figure, but they don't say he's in the group. Why is Bane in there? Why Bane? Okay, Bane, I guess. And oh yeah, I did purposely skip one a while ago. Whoever this is with the blue in the face, this is, in fact, not the Snake Lady from Freakazoid. See, I mentioned before that I was a kid when this show was coming out, and I was a member of a bunch of message boards, probably too young, and everybody on the internet thought this piece of shit here was the Blue Llama, who was a magic witch lady that fought World War II era cultural appropriating hero Sargon the Sorcerer. But that never really seemed to be right. They kind of look the same, but I mean, they don't. Then a few years later, everybody started saying she was Nightshade, who could manipulate shadows like the Shade, but was a lady, and the influence for Silk Spectre from Watchmen. But I don't know, that just never felt right either, so I looked into it. Turns out there's other members of the Cadre who didn't show up in the cartoon, like Shrike and Overmaster and Nightfall. Nightfall looked kind of close enough, so I followed the trail just to see if she ever had a different costume or anything, and holy shit, it's her! But what comic is this from? Okay, the DC Wiki lists all her appearances.
You filthy brat! Where are you?
She looks normal in Wonder Woman from 2001 and also in Green Lantern in 2006 and JLA in 2008, so I guess this is from somewhere in the middle? Jesus Christ. She's in some issues of The Power Company, which I'm not even going to bother to figure out right now, and yes!
Bingo.
So she only looked like how she did in JLU for 5 comic books across 2002 to 2003. What a fucking poll, James Tucker. Holy shit. This brings our total count for the membership of the Secret Legion of Society of Doom Legion to whatever number is on screen. I recorded this before I counted them all. What a big number this probably is. And the hero with the most villain representation is this character, Crazy Shit.
We set out just to have fun and, do a much more crazy, widescreen, gonzo superhero show and good guys versus bad guys, and I think it does that.
Damn right, Bruce Timm. My guy. And we hard cut to hours later when I've sobered up and taken a nap. A quick sum up for people who like to pause. This is the total membership. These are the ones who punched each other in space. These are the ones who exploded and died, with 2 more if you go by the original sketch. These are the leftovers who helped the League fight Darkseid. These are the ones who never even left orbit. Ah, not so much of a dummy after all, eh? These are the ones from the original Super Friends team. And this is Katana. She's got my back. She can cut.
He's cooked his own brain.
Despite being quite the doozy of a dealio, it is funny to consider how ham the show's crew went, with a ton of characters who most or all viewers of JLU would not even be able to try and recognize. While I do think it would have been fun to see some more obscure returning villains, like imagine we got a scene where the Justice League was beating the crap out of the Sewer King and Maxie Zeus and Puff and stuff, they still got to throw in a heck of a lot of crazy cameos that we'd never seen in a cartoon before and may never see again. And that is beautiful.
Perhaps there is no moral to this story.
Exactly! It's just a bunch of stuff that happened.
Hopefully, we were able to turn a whole new generation on to these classic characters.
Oh yes, Rich Fogel. I won't soon forget the Puzzler. Now, as promised, the Pokerap. Look, I already used up the 2 good ones for the other 2 Pokeraps we did years ago. Like, there is a 3rd Pokerap, but go look it up later. It sucks ass. It's no good. I don't want to do that one, but I did figure it out. So, without further ado, as I always say, when in doubt, turn to Weird Al. Clayface, Thinker, Metallo, Merlin, Cheetah, Bizarro, Heatwave, Rampage, and the Key, Teledoctor, Destiny, Toyman, Copperhead, Queen Bee, Evil Star, and KG Beast, Volcana, and the Dummy, everybody LOD.
You gonna wash your hands?
No, because I'm evil.
Okay. I'm about to turn every man, woman, and child on Earth into an ape.
Silver Banshee, Groth the Shade, Javelin Top and Devil Ray, Dr. Cyber, Killer Frost, Engelman, Gentleman, Gauss, Puzzler, Goldface, and Fastball, Livewire, and Monocle, Bloodsport, Lunar, Common Lady, Secret Society.
Twinkle, twinkle, brainiac, Tal is gonna bring you back.
There's lots of bad guys like like Puppeteer and Neutron 2. Come on, face off with Doc Polaris, and try not to pull a gun and throw a coup. You better grab yourself some Brainiac and lure on in a Lex Luthor. Hold on a minute, there's still at least roughly 30-something more, including Parasite and Sinestro, Black Mass and Dr. Spectro, Psycho, Pirate, Shark and Bane, Giganta and Tattooed Mane. Don't forget about Sonar, Weather Wizard and Crowbar, Helgramite and Sukuri. Everybody LOD, Star Sapphire, Atomic Skull, Electrocutioner, Nightfall, Blockbuster and Shatterfist. Oh god, who the f*** is this? Mirror and a Sportsmaster, Hellhound, Major Disaster, Orion, but that can't be. Everybody LOD.
I demand to know what's going on. I'm going as fast as I can.
Secret Society.
Wish I'd thought of that. Oh, wait, I did.
Everybody LOD.
That's a wrap.
My question of the day is, what Batman villain would you have liked to see in the LOD who didn't get their chance because of our old friend, the Bat Embargo? Riddler? Two-Face? Catwoman? Thank you to everyone listed here for their generous contributions on Patreon. Go check out the links in the description to see how you can help support the Watchtower database. Thank you again to NordVPN for partnering with us this video, and to you, dear viewer, for viewing. Why did any of these guys have to stand up? Why didn't they have enough chairs? They're stealing money all the time. They're run by Lex Luthor. You'd think they could afford some more chairs.
I just want some pants. A decent pair of pants. I'm still trying to get a chair.